packed my life into 2 bags and stepped onto an American Airlines flight bound for an unknown future. At 32, I decided to chase the one that got away. I left for a little unknown place in Louisiana called Shreveport. It was the biggest decision I've ever made, but also the easiest, because I'm a firm believer that love is worth risking everything for. I booked a round-trip ticket thinking I'd play it safe, but deep down I knew this wasn't just a visit. This was the start of the rest of my life. Now, if you're thinking that this is some fairy tale love story, you're wrong. It's not perfect, it's messy, it's completely unexpected, but in my eyes, it's the greatest love story of our time. And I'm sharing this with you not just to tell my story, but to spark hope and to remind you that true love exists and that sometimes the biggest risks reap the biggest rewards. This story doesn't start here. It begins 4 years earlier at a wine bar in Santa Barbara. What you'll learn, the signs that helped me know she was the one, how our story unfolded in unexpected ways, my thoughts on recognizing true love. That's me playing the guitar, and this video is from her camera roll. She just thought this would be another clip from a vacation. At this point, she didn't know who I was. She was in Santa Barbara for one night only. They were supposed to go to LA, but didn't like it, so they came here on a whim. At this point, I had lived in Santa Barbara for 4 years, and I was about to go back to Sweden because my visa was expiring. She was there by chance that day. Actually, she saw me sitting outside and snapped this picture of me and then walked in. I was there by chance that day. See, my buddy Patrick worked here as a server and then asked me to come down and play music for tips and hang out with him because Mondays were so slow. I had never done that before, so I thought it could be fun since I had nothing else to do. He was right. It was slow. The only 3 people there were her mom, and her stepdad. At some point, she goes to the bathroom and her mom interrupts my playing and asks. I say, I'm Victor, and she immediately picks up on my accent, so naturally she continues. I tell her Sweden, and that I'm actually about to go back there because my visa is about to expire. She comes back from the bathroom, and her mom says, well, you should marry my daughter then, and points at her. I think she blushed a bit, but it comes through as a smile, and she says, I'm Chelsea. After this unique introduction, we started talking and we had some striking similarities. We had parents who had divorced the same year. We were born the same year, only 3 days apart. And we had changed schools the same year. We could relate so much to each other and it felt like we had lived these parallel lives. It was so obvious that we liked each other, and not only for our similarities, but I felt this incredible attraction. I was pulled towards her in a way that I've never felt in my life before. It was electric. I remember a friend texting me that day asking me what I was up to, and my reply was, I just met my future wife. In some way, I think you just know in your gut when you've met someone special, someone worth holding on to. It's beyond these similarities and physical attraction. It's spiritual. She was so easy to talk to, and I know that she felt the same way about me. And I think that that's one of the most crucial things to have in place for a relationship to work. I noticed in these first couple of hours that we spent together how kind she was and warm-spirited, how she treated her parents, the servers, my friends, the people around us. She made people feel like they were part of something, even though there was this bubble around the two of us. We spent 24 hours together in Santa Barbara, and then she had to go back to Louisiana. We exchanged phone numbers and promised we would stay in touch. But we had 2 or 3 major adversities to overcome. My visa was to expire 2 months later. She was afraid of flying, and she was sort of seeing someone else. At this point, I was 100% sure that this was something worth exploring further, but she was a realist and saw how difficult it would be for us to date like normal people who live in the same city. I mean, I was getting kicked out of the country and she couldn't just leave her job and pick up and go to Sweden. So 2 months passed, and I decided to go on this cross-country road trip without a car, believe it or not, and fly back to Sweden from New York. I told her I'd visit her in Louisiana, and she was unsure of having me come visit her, and I told her that if I don't see you now, I probably won't ever see you again. And she responded to this text message with, "That makes me nauseous." I ended up coming to see her for 3 or 4 days, and it was absolutely incredible. None of us wanted to let go of each other, but for several reasons, she couldn't give in to this 100%. July 31st, 2018. I flew back to Sweden, not knowing that it would take another 4 years until I'd get to see her again. A French philosopher, whose name I'm not gonna even try to pronounce, said, "Absence diminishes small loves and increases great ones, as the wind blows out the candle and fans the bonfire." We both really tried to get each other off our minds, and we immersed ourselves in work and new relationships, and even here it seemed like we were living parallel lives just on different continents. This was so not the way I'd foreseen this going. Nothing seemed to be going right, and anxiety was high, and there were periods of time where we would have no contact, and then all of a sudden we seemed to be circling back to each other when we both were in the same phase. By late 2021, this idea had begun to take shape in my mind. I knew that one of us had to risk it all, or we would spend the rest of our lives miserable with the wrong people. One drunken night, I picked up the phone and I called her, and she happened to be on another vacation with her mom, but we talked for 3 hours straight. From that day on, we started FaceTiming for hours and hours, and we really fell in love. And now the timing was right. We did everything over video calls. I mean, we slept, we ate, we watched movies, but most of all, we explored every little corner of each other's minds. And eventually I said, I'm booking my flights and I'm coming over to the States and we're gonna figure this out. April 13th, 2022, I landed back in Louisiana. And when I embraced her after 4 long years, it was like I finally felt home, and I knew that I was never gonna leave her again. 3 months later, we married and said our vows to each other in a beautiful little chapel in Arkansas. This story played out in a very unlikely way, and for the longest time I thought that it would never happen for me. It's crazy to think that I was only 28 or about to turn 29 when I first met her, and then it would take 4 years, and we were 33 when we finally got married. So how do you recognize true love? Honestly, I don't know. All I know is that I've never had a meeting as electric as this one. But what I do know is true love is recognized by the stillness of your heart. I was very restless for many years, and my heart was telling me to go. But now I know there was a reason for that. As long as she was out there, my heart was telling me to go. So my message is this: if you have that restlessness and you feel like there's something you have to do, see, and explore, go. Because you never know who you might meet on the other side of the world. And may I add that when you do meet someone, listen inwards. Your heart knows what's right. And even if things might seem hopeless at times, I hope that you can really find comfort in that we all have different timelines. Everything that's happening in your life right now is happening for a reason. Everything is just as it's supposed to be. Know that there is a grander plan at play, and trust the process. If you enjoyed this video and you would like to encourage me to make more of these, please hit that subscribe button, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thank you for listening.